need to, you needed to, you need to recess at 3 o'clock tomorrow?
I need to leave at 3.
Is that like in stone? Can it be any longer than
I
that?
need to be in Bakersfield by 6 o'clock.
Can you be later? Can you
No,
be
but
later?
I'm giving a talk. I can't be later.
All right. Then tomorrow, I told you, we'll break at 3. We will break at 3.
Because we should be protected.
Oh, all right, we are now back on the record. All jurors and counsel and parties are present. Defense, Prosecutor.
Thank you. The defense calls Louis Levin. Right across from your face, let's go around there. So you can just stop around there, raise your right hand for us. Thank you. You solemnly state that the testimony you may give the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Please take this witness stand there. Feel free to adjust the microphone and state and spell your name for the record.
Louis Levin, Louis Levin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Levin.
Good afternoon.
Do you go by any other name than Louis Levin?
Yes, ASAP Relli.
Okay. Mr. Levin, in anticipation of the prosecution's questions later, would you ever commit perjury to defend Rocky?
No.
Would you ever commit perjury for anyone?
No.
Do you understand the significance of the oath you've taken today?
Yes, I do.
And do you take that oath seriously?
Yes,
Is this your first time testifying?
it is.
What do you do for a living?
I'm Rocky's tour manager. I also DJ, and I have a clothing brand.
And what are your responsibilities as Rocky's tour manager include?
Just doing the routing for the shows, make sure that the production staff is hired, the production is right, he gets there on time, just that we have a successful and good show.
Okay. And in addition to touring, are you also involved in Rocky's music videos?
Yes, I am.
And what does that involve?
Sometimes I'm featured in the videos, but most of the time I'm there to like help manage directors, producers, assistants, props, light, anything, just kind of a helping hand.
Okay. And how long have you worked with Rocky?
Since 2010.
When did you first meet him?
I met him in 2010 at a concert in Brooklyn.
And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was.
relevant just to overrule. You can answer.
Yes, I was actually a fan in the crowd, and I was a fan for him for a while, and I was in the crowd. He picked me out of the crowd and said, like, "You're hype, I like your energy, come up on stage." Went up on stage, and then after that, went backstage and met him, 12E, Bari, Ills, just all the ASAP guys.
And did you begin working with Rocky at that time?
Not right away. It was a couple months after. It was either later in 2010 or early 2011.
And what was your first position with Rocky?
I was his assistant first.
And what did that involve?
Just like assistant tasks, make sure he's up on time, he makes his meetings, phone calls, he eats, his bags are packed, he's prepared for the day.
Okay. And was there a time where you switched positions? Where you stopped doing that?
Yeah, I did that for about 3-4 years, and then I started being his tour DJ, and like when he did after parties or clubs, his DJ for that as well.
Okay. And when did you start becoming his tour manager?
I would say 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
Okay, now, in addition to the work you do for Rocky, have you held any other jobs?
Well, yeah, I DJ and I have a clothing brand.
Okay.
I DJ on my own. Yeah.
And how large are the venues that you DJ for?
It varies. I've done like festivals with a few thousand people. I've done smaller private events, like club events. It varies, but I've done international, domestic. I traveled for a lot.
Okay. And you mentioned that you met ASAP Relli. Is that right?
Yeah, the first show I met Rakim.
And what's your relationship been like with Relli?
It's been good. I would consider him a close friend.
And did you ever meet someone known as ASAP Relli?
Yes.
And what's your relationship been like with him?
Over the years, it's always kind of been up and down. it would be times where like we were good, and then like a week later he would text me or call me and say, "Fuck you, you're a bitch, you're a faggot." Oh, sorry.
It's also hearsay.
You can answer.
He would text me and just be aggressive, like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna fuck you up when I see you, you're a bitch, you're a faggot," but then a week later say, "Hey, I miss you, we should hang out." Like, it's been like that ever since I've known him, really.
What's your understanding as to why it's been like that?
Your Honor, that's going to call for speculation. It's also relevant in perspective.
What's your understanding as to why it's been that way?
What's your understanding? What?
What's your understanding as to why it's been that way?
The objection sustained.
Okay. Ms. Levin, do you have any experience with firearms?
Yes, I do.
And are you licensed to possess firearms?
Yes, I am.
When did you get licensed?
In 2020,
And why?
it was COVID times, and it was pretty crazy. There was a lot of like home invasions. There's a lot of people getting robbed. There's a lot of violence going on, and I just felt the need to have something in my house to protect myself.
Okay. And what firearms, if any, do you own?
I own a Smith & Wesson M&P9. I own a Glock 42. I own a 12-gauge shotgun and an AR-15.
What caliber is the Glock 42?
It's .380.
Now, what do you do with those firearms?
Take them to the shooting range, keep them in my house. So,
Okay. And do you consider yourself knowledgeable about guns?
yeah, I would say so.
All right. Are you personally aware whether or not Rocky's been the victim of prior violence?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you tell us about that knowledge?
I know he was jumped in a club in 2018. His face was cut.
Foundation, otherwise hearsay.
Um,
Motion to strike the answer.
Hold on.
sorry.
He can testify to what he has observed relating to that. If anything has been told to him, that would be inadmissible hearsay.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, with that instruction, are you personally aware, anything that you observed in terms of past violence against Rocky?
Yeah, that I personally observed. He had some home invasions and a stalker.
And can you tell us about the stalker?
The stalker has actually gotten into his home before. I saw the security footage, and I've actually encountered her in person before, like just following me around.
Okay. And when's the last time there was an incident with the stalker?
It was Memorial Day of 21.
Around May of 2021?
I would say yes.
Now, do you know of any security measures that Rocky took in response to these incidents?
Yes, he started getting security guard to sit outside his house for 24 hours, and he started carrying a profit.
Yeah, I'm going to object. Lack foundation.
How do you know that? What do you know about the security company and the property?
I physically saw them, both the profit and the security company. And
Objection withdrawn.
The objection's over. All right, the objection's over. Ask another question.
Thank you. So what's your understanding of what a prop gun is?
It's a prop is something that looks like a real gun. It doesn't fire a projectile. It makes the same noise. It looks like it. It's just, like I said, it doesn't actually shoot anything out of it.
All right. I think you just answered this, but were you personally involved in Rocky's decision to carry the prop gun?
Security, and I thought it would be a good idea.
Why?
Well, because of the prior violence. It's just a non-lethal form like to self-defense.
Okay. Now, you said you worked with Rocky on music videos. Did any of them involve prop guns?
Yes.
Which was the most recent one?
DMV.
And where was that music video made?
It was made in New York.
Who were the main characters in that video?
Rakim Mayers.
Do you know where Rocky got the prop gun that he carried from?
Yes, he got it from that video shoot.
And how do you know that?
I was on set and I handled it there.
Have you seen him take it?
I did see him take it, yes.
When was the DMV music video recorded?
July 2021.
So about a month or two after that May 2021 incident with the stalker?
Correct, yes.
Now, after the DMV video, how do you know that Rocky carried that prop gun?
I personally saw him and I handled it.
Did you see Rocky with it on November 6th, 2021?
I did, yes.
Where were you when you saw it?
We were at in Long Beach at ComplexCon. We had rehearsals that day for the show, which was the next day, the 7th. During rehearsals, he does like a dress rehearsal where he gets on stage and runs around and rehearses his performance. while he was running around, he handed me the prop gun to hold, so it was in safekeeping.
And based on what you've seen and heard, did Rocky hide from his friends the fact that he carried that prop gun?
Not to his close friends, no.
And how do you know that?
It was known by everyone. I mean, it was just something that everyone knew. Like his close friend circle, everybody knew that he carried a prop gun.
Have you ever seen Rocky carry a real firearm in public?
Not in public, no.
Now, the prop gun that you've been talking about, what type is it, or was it?
It was a Glock 26.
And did you ever do anything to that prop gun to modify it?
Yes. I added this thing on the side of it called the clip draw, and what that is essentially it lays flush to the slide, and it allows you to put it in your waistband more securely, so if you have to carry it out. And then I also added a clear extended magazine on it.
And why did you put the clear extended magazine on it?
Well, the Glock 26 is it's a small, like, subcompact gun. The whole point of him carrying this was to make it look intimidating, to kind of scare people off that were going to try to harm him. So having the clear magazine and extended magazine made it look a little bit more intimidating.
Okay. To your knowledge, did there come a point where Rocky stopped carrying that prop gun?
Yes, it was after November 6th.
Objection Foundation, in terms of how he knows this, can we get the foundation?
How do you know?
Oh, because I was part of the decision. He gave it to me. He gave it to me after.
And why was that decision made?
That's going to call for speculation, unless it's firsthand knowledge.
Overruled.
The decision was made because, like I said, he carried it to deter violence, and then on November 6th, after the incident, it obviously didn't work, and he decided to just get actual armed security. He didn't want to carry it anymore.
Do you know what happened to that prop gun?
Yes, I brought it back to New York.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so after he gave it back to me, January, I believe, of next year, 2022, I flew back to New York with it, and I gave it to the co-director that we got it from.
When you said you gave it to him in New York, how did you get to New York with the prop gun?
Oh, we took a private jet.
Now, do you know if Rocky was licensed to possess firearms in 2021?
That's going to, again, call for hearsay.
Stand. Do you know if Rocky owned firearms in 2021?
And that's also a lax foundation, the way it's asked. Ask him what he knows, what he's seen, and
You can answer.
Yes, he did.
And what firearms did he own?
It was a Desert Eagle 44 Magnum and an AR-10 rifle.
And are they designed to accommodate 9mm caliber ammunition?
No, they're not.
Have you ever been to Rocky's home?
Yes,
How often?
many times.
And have you ever seen firearms ammunition there?
Yes.
Did you ever plan on going to a shooting range with Rocky?
Yeah, we did. It was in the summertime of 21, I would say July, August, somewhere around there.
And what preparations did you make in order to go?
So I came to his place first with my both of my pistols, my handguns. And while we were there, I was oiling the guns up and loading the magazines, and also calling around the shooting ranges to try to secure like a private area, a private room.
And why did you do that? Why were you looking for a private room?
Well, because of who he is, he's a celebrity, and we just didn't want to cause a commotion going there. And usually when we go out places, we do try to get a private room. Like,
Okay. In this instance, did you actually end up going to the shooting range?
no, we couldn't secure anything. Everything was booked out, or just nothing was available that day.
Okay. So what did you do instead?
Just hung out at this place. We had a couple drinks, talk, bullshit.
Okay. Did you go home that night?
I did.
And did you bring your weapons and ammunition back with you?
I did not.
Why not?
Because I had a couple drinks. I didn't think it'd be wise to travel with my firearms.
Okay. Did you go back to Rocky's house to retrieve your belongings at some point?
Yeah, the next day I did.
And at that time, did you take everything with you?
I took everything except for one magazine. It was the Glock 43 magazine.
Okay. Now, do you own a Glock 43?
I do not.
All right. So why did you have a Glock 43 magazine?
So when I purchased my Glock 42, and I was at the gun shop buying accessories for it, more magazines, I had mistakenly grabbed the Glock 43 magazine. When you're in the store, everything is like right next to each other. So it's the Glock section, it's all of the list, the 17, 19, it's all the accessories. They were right next to each other, and I grabbed it mistakenly. And I didn't realize until that day that I had mistakenly grabbed it.
And I want to show you what's in evidence is Exhibit 40. Give us Exhibit 40. 40B. 40B. Direct your attention to this right here.
Yes.
For the record, you pointed to what appears to be a handgun magazine in the middle of the photo, or other magazines and rounds in the video. Is that correct, Your Honor?
That's right. Okay, it's 11. I just pointed to. What is that?
That's my Glock 43 magazine.
Was this magazine ever used?
No.
Can you tell that from looking at the picture?
Personally, I guess, because I own firearms and I own other magazines. Usually it has wear marks on the side of it from going in and out of the pistol or firearm. So that one has nothing on it. It's clearly brand new. It's just loaded.
I want to show you what's in evidence of People's Exhibit 42.
You don't have to take them all out. We'll stipulate some numbers if you like.
Let's do this. Can you zoom in on it? Away. Okay. Why don't we do this? Yeah. So I want you to take a look at this cartridge. Tell me if you recognize that.
Yes.
What is it?
It's a 6-hour 9mm cartridge. It's mine.
Is that the ammunition that you left at Rocky's house?
Correct, yes.
The one that, ammunition that was contained in that magazine that we just saw?
That's correct.
By the way, going back to the magazine, when you realized it was the wrong one, why didn't you return?
It's a $20 magazine. It would have cost more in gas to go there back and forth in my time.
Okay. All right, I want to show you what's in evidence is Defense Exhibit CC. Okay. Ms. Levin, do you see the two shell casings on the right?
Yes.
Can you see the imprint on the bottom of those shell casings? Can you make it out?
Yes.
Okay. And what do they say? What's the imprint?
FC 9mm Luger.
Okay. Can you tell us what brand these casings are?
That's Federal.
Okay. And the cartridges on the left, are those the cartridges that you just saw?
Yeah, the one you just handed me.
Okay. That's the 9mm ammunition that you left in Rocky's house?
Correct.
Okay. And what brand is that?
SIG 6-hour.
All right. So these 9mm shell casings on the right, the same brand as your 9mm ammunition on the left.
They're not.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Mr. Levin, as you sit here today, do you consider yourself to be an unbiased witness?
Yes, I do.
So do you agree that you come in to your testimony today looking at the defendant as basically a brother, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree that you do not want to see him convicted in this case, agreed?
Well, I've already he's facing 24 years. I don't want to see him go to jail for 24 years.
Your Honor, please admonish the jury that that is an incorrect statement.
Ask the question.
Did you not understand the question that I asked?
Can you please rephrase it?
So I'm going to ask you going forward, sir. I want you to answer the question I asked, and only that question, and not add anything that you want to add. The attorney who called you will have a chance to get up here on redirect and to ask you anything that he wants to ask. Do you understand that?
Yes, I apologize. Can you please rephrase it?
My question is, isn't it true, sir, that whether or not the defendant committed this crime or not, you do not want him to be convicted, do you?
I believe in the judicial system. Anyone who's committed a crime and is guilty and found guilty by a jury should pay for their crime.
I'm going to ask you again, sir. Given your close relationship with the defendant, isn't it true that you do not want him to be convicted in this case? Yes or no?
I can't really answer that. I don't know the details, full details of the case. I can't accurately answer that. I'm sorry.
You would agree that you have in addition to your personal relationship, you have a financial relationship with the defendant, correct?
Not significant.
Well, wait a minute. You're his tour manager, correct?
Yeah, the past 2-3 years, he barely toured.
Well, if he tours, would you expect to be the tour manager?
When he tours, yes.
And when he tours, that can be very financially lucrative for the defendant and for anybody else who is associated with him, correct?
Sure, yeah.
So you would agree, sir, that you have a financial interest in the defendant being able to continue to tour where you can be his tour manager. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Can you ask it again? Threw me off.
Sure. Would you agree that you have a future financial interest in the defendant being able to perform and tour?
Yes, but it's not the majority of my income.
That's not what I asked.
Everything after yes is true.
I apologize. Sorry.
Are you aware of the defendant having toured in Bangkok?
In Bangkok?
Yeah.
Yes.
When did that happen?
Last year in November, I believe we did the show.
In fact, you're aware that this trial was delayed so he could tour, correct?
Well, sustained, the objection sustained.
You just told me he rarely tours anymore. He just toured in Bangkok a couple of months ago, correct?
I wouldn't consider that a tour. A tour is multiple shows. That was one show. It was a one-off show.
Did you go?
Of course I would, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, you got paid for going, right?
Yes.
So do you agree that you have a financial interest in the defendant continuing to be able to tour?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to keep that yet. Yes.
So how much of your income, I'm not asking you what you make, but what percentage of your income is either directly or indirectly related to the defendant?
Currently, I would say 30%.
And what was it previously?
Previously, when?
Well, so you said currently it's 30%. You agree?
Like I said, it varies. It depends on how much he's toured. So when he tours, I can't accurately tell you because that's years ago when he was actually touring.
When he was actually touring, you were making more money. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, the more shows we do, the more I make, yeah.
And in fact, when you were his assistant, that's what he paid you, correct?
I'm sorry, when I was an assistant, I got paid, yes.
And that was your primary source of income, correct?
In 2010, yeah, that was.
So historically, the defendant has been an extremely important source of income for you. Is that right?
Yes, he's opened the door for me to have other opportunities aside from working directly from him to be able to further benefit financially. So I DJ on my own, like I said, not with him. I travel on my own, and recently, for the past couple of years, that's been the majority source of my income, yes.
And in terms of you being able to establish yourself as a DJ and your clothing brand, you have the defendant in large part to thank for that, don't you?
Sure, yes.
Now, I want to ask you, when did you first speak to the defense in this case?
In August of 2024.
So you're saying the very first time that you spoke to the defendant's lawyers was nearly 3 years after the incident?
That's correct.
Had you spoken to the defendant about this incident prior to that time?
Yeah.
Had you spoken to him numerous times about it?
More than once? Sure, yeah.
So we're going to go back to the very beginning. When did you first hear about this incident on November 6, 2020?
The next day?
And did you talk to the defendant about it?
Yes.
And at that point in time, did he tell you that he had pulled a prop gun on Relli?
Yes, he explained to me the situation of what happened on the night of November 6th.
And at that point in time, were you aware that Relli was already contacting the defendant and other members of his entourage, for lack of a better word, and basically demanding money?
I don't recall that specifically.
You became aware near the time of the incident that Relli wanted money, correct?
I can't recall that specifically. No, I know about the incident, but I don't know. He didn't contact me about wanting any money. So I don't know, I can't recall specifically if he did that.
Let me ask you something. Did you become aware at some point in time that Relli wanted money?
Yeah.
And did you become aware of that from the defendant?
To be honest, I think I became aware of it when everything came out in the media.
Wait, so you're saying you never had a conversation with the defendant that near this, when this event happened, about the victim wanting a bunch of money from him?
Like I said, sir, to be honest, I can't recall that specific conversation.
I'm not asking a specific conversation. I'm asking, did you have any conversation with the defendant, who you described as your brother, a fellow ASAP, the person who you were his personal assistant? Did you have any conversation with him near the time of this event about what happened, the fact that Relli wanted money for it?
When you say the fact that Relli wanted money, like I said, I can't recall if we specifically spoke about that right around the time of the event.
When did you become aware that Relli wanted money?
I told you, I don't specifically recall, but I believe it may have been around when everything came out in the media.
And when you say everything coming out in the media, do you mean?
When the defendant was arrested.
And that's going to be in 2022, is that correct?
In April, I believe, yes.
And you're telling me that before that time, as far as you can remember, you didn't have any conversation with the defendant about what Relli wanted from him. Is that correct?
Like I said, sir, I cannot specifically remember.
So I'm asking you, sir, as you sit here, to the best of your memory, did you have any conversation with the defendant about Relli wanting money from him between the time the incident happened and the time that it became public in April 2022?
Objection has been answered. Overruled.
And again, I said I cannot specifically remember if we spoke about it around the time of the event.
When you say you cannot specifically remember, what do
I
you
cannot
remember?
recall. I recall him telling me about the event, how it happened on November 6th, the night. I can't remember him specifically saying Rel was trying to extort him for money.
So I want to go back to your conversations with the defense. You said that you first spoke to them in August 2024, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was for approximately 90 minutes, correct?
Yes, I would say so.
And that was in what city?
It was in New York.
And who was present during that conversation?
It was Joe, Chad, and Eleanor.
Eleonora?
Eleanor, yeah, sorry. Pardon.
And did they have an investigator there monitoring or recording the proceedings?
No, it was just them and me.
Did you see them taping anything?
They were not taking anything.
Did you see them taking any notes?
They were not taking any notes.
Do you have any idea how they were in any way memorializing or even remembering what it was you were telling them during this 90-minute interview?
Objection, speculative.
I'm asking if they knows. What's that, Your Honor?
No, all right. The question calls for a yes or no. It's overruled.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it one more time?
You said they were not recording.
Yes,
You said they were not taking notes.
correct,
You said there was no investigator that was there monitoring.
correct.
So I'm asking you, are you aware, do you know how they were keeping track of what you were saying during the interview?
Objection, speculation.
Absolutely, he knows.
On
He's
that-
in the interview.
On that ground, overruled. And it seems a fact on the other.
Sustained.
You just testified they were not recording anything, and they were not taking any notes, correct?
That is correct.
So I'm not asking you to speculate, so I'm asking, do you know, are you aware of how they were documenting and keeping track of what you were saying?
Objection,
You
Your Honor.
mean if they were?
Yes, if they were, yes, Your Honor.
I'm not aware.
You had a second interview with them when?
January 26th of this year.
January 26th, that would be approximately 6 days after this trial started. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, sure.
Have you seen, sir, the statement, the summary that they turned over of your total information that you provided them in this case? Have you seen it?
Yeah, you showed it to me this morning.
Would you agree, sir, that it is literally 9 bullet points?
Yes, that's what it appears to be.
You testified on direct examination to a number of incidents and issues already. You talked about the fact that the prop gun was modeled after Glock 26, is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you agree that what you said about the prop gun in your prior statement was as follows? Rocky carried a prop gun after being the victim of prior violence and home invasions, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the
States
ground?
the evidence, not his prior statements. Overruled.
Correct? This is what's been represented as your prior statement. Rocky carried a
Objection.
prior-
Yeah,
This has been
mischaracterized.
represented as a summary of your prior statement turned over and discovered pursuant to PC 1054.3. Is, sir, it says that you said Rocky carried a prop gun after being the victim of prior violence and home invasions. Is that what you said?
Yeah, this is what the summary says.
Did you provide any more detail than that to them?
In August of 24, I honestly, I can't completely, I mean, if they ask me for more details, then I did give them more details.
Mr. Levin, are you telling me you can't remember you're asked about Rocky carrying a prop gun, and you mentioned prior violence and home invasions, and you were saying that you don't know if they asked you, hey, what prior violence, what home invasion? You don't remember that?
I don't want to misspeak, and like I said, I can't completely recall. This is 6-7 months ago.
Well, you just testified to information on direct examination. You would agree regarding home invasion and prior violence that is not in here, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you ask it another way? I apologize.
You just testified on direct examination. You were asked questions specifically about prior violence and home invasions, and you said, as an example, you saw video of a home invasion, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell me where in your statement it mentions anything about a video of a home invasion?
Objection again, Your Honor. It's not in the statement.
What's the, can I get a ground, Your Honor?
Misleading.
Misleading.
ground. Overruled.
But misstates the evidence.
It's a question, it's not misstating anything.
Objection's overruled.
Look, can you tell me where you see any information, sir, about having viewed videos of a home invasion?
Objection is irrelevant.
Overruled.
Wait,
Relevant?
On his statement.
sustained. The
On
objection's
what
sustained.
grounds?
It's not relevant what he sees on that piece of paper.
Did you tell them specifically about the information of viewing video of home invasions during your interviews? Tell them that.
Again, this is 6-7 months ago. I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no, and I don't feel confident. I don't want to misspeak. I don't recall, sir. I'm sorry.
What about 2 weeks ago in January when you spoke to them? Did you talk to them about it then?
I believe so, yes.
Did you, sir, ever mention anything to them in any of your interviews about going to a shooting range or trying to go to a shooting range? The incident you just discussed on direct, did you tell them about that?
About the shooting range?
Yes.
Yes.
I want you to take a look and tell me if you see any mention of a shooting range in your statement.
Objection, irrelevant. You're right to say objection.
I'm sorry, I was talking to Alex.
The question, Your Honor, I've asked him, he testified on direct regarding the shooting range incident, not being able to go there, what happened, how he went to the house, how the 9mm magazine was lit.
Right, what about that?
I'm asking him, he said, yes, I told them that information. I'm asking him, do you see that information in your statement?
The objection's, it's irrelevant what he sees on that piece of paper.
Did you definitively go through with them, sir, that incident that you testified to on direct examination?
Did I go through with it in detail? No.
Well, what did you tell them about that incident? Was it just what you said on direct?
Did I exactly what I said on direct? I don't know if it was word for word.
Well, did you tell them in essence, sir, about that incident involving your attempt to go to the shooting range and how you ended up leaving a 9mm Glock 43 magazine at the defendant's home? Did you tell them that?
I told them that that was my magazine at the home, yes.
That's not what I asked you.
Tracy, do you want to go, can we go another half hour, 45 minutes? I know it's, yes, go ahead.
Yes, we can
Go to 3?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't ask you if you mentioned that it was your magazine. I asked you, did you tell them about the incident, giving the detail that you just gave on direct examination? Did you tell them that?
What detail in specific is that?
You just on direct examination told you recited an alleged incident where you were going to go to the shooting range. You went over to the defendant's house with all of your guns and magazines, that you had some drinks, and then because you drank too much, you decided you were going to leave a magazine for a gun you didn't own at the defendant's home. Did you tell the defense that during your interview?
No, not in detail like that. I didn't rehearse it with them, if that's what you're trying to say.
That's not what I'm trying to
Okay.
say. I'm asking, did you tell them that?
I didn't tell them in detail like that, no.
Well, do you know then how they knew to ask you about it if you never told them?
About the shoot, I told them we were going to go to a shooting range.
Let me continue. Were you ever asked, sir, were you ever shown what I just showed you, those bullet points? Were you ever given that to the defense and said, hey, listen, Mr. Levin, does this accurately depict what you told us?
The first time I saw that piece of paper was this morning when you showed me.
Did they ever call you to go over your statement, to say, hey, listen, we've got to turn over your statement to the prosecution. We want to make sure we have everything. Did they ever do that?
No.
You said you have knowledge and experience with firearms, is that correct?
Yes.
You said you owned numerous firearms, is that correct?
Correct.
You are currently a resident of California, have been a resident in California for many years, is that correct?
Yes.
And you understand there's a legal duty to register firearms in California, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you would agree that you have a history of complying with the law and registering your firearms, is that right?
When I buy my firearms, I buy them at a licensed dealer, yes.
And you were aware, sir, before you ever took the stand today, you were aware that the Glock 43 magazine that you allegedly gave to the defendant,
I didn't give it to him. I left it at his
that
house.
you left there.
Yes.
You were aware, sir, that you did not have a registered gun that would fit that magazine, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And in fact, isn't it true, Mr. Levin, that you understood that because you did not have a registered gun that would fit that magazine, that you had to come up with a story to explain how it was that not only you left a magazine at the defendant's house without a firearm to go with it, but also why you had that magazine in the first place. Is that correct?
I didn't have to,
It's cross-examination. Over.
I didn't have to come up with a story as the truth.
And when is it your position that you first told the defense the details that you just described about having brought that magazine over with your gun, having had the drinks, and having left it there? When did you first tell the defense about that?
Like I said, with the full I told him in August that that was my magazine at his house. The full details of that, I can't believe, I can't remember exactly when I told him the full details of the story.
Well, you only talked to him twice, you said, right?
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you tell him that on January 26th?
We didn't get into details. They just asked me about the shooting range incident and why the magazine was there.
Wait, how did they ask you about a shooting range incident when you'd never told them to?
I told you, I had told them about it.
So you told them about the shooting range incident back in August of 2024?
Well, yes, I believe so.
And your testimony is that even though you told them about it, they didn't ask for any details. Is that correct?
In August of 24, I can't accurately remember. I don't want to misspeak, sir.
Come up one second.
Say again?
We just come up one section.
Now,
Hold on. Off the record? Off? All right. Stand.
just whether you have testified that you have experience in knowledge of prop gun.
Well, I handle the prop gun, and I know how it works. I've never fired a prop gun, but I understand how it works.
You've seen a prop gun fired, though, correct?
Have I seen one fire in person? No.
You've seen a prop gun either fired in person, in a video.
Oh, in a video or a movie? Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you would agree that a prop gun, it cannot fire an actual projectile, agree?
That's correct.
And would you also agree that because it can't fire a projectile, it has no ability to, for instance, to protect somebody if the other guy has a real gun? Would you agree?
I'm sorry, can you ask that a different way, please?
So, let's say you pull out a prop gun. There's no bullet that can be fired from that prop gun. And someone in response pulls out a real gun. You would agree, real gun versus prop gun, not good for the person who has a prop gun, agree?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You understand that in this case, you have said that the defendant was possessing the prop gun because he had been advised by you and a security person as a result of home invasions and stalking and a violent situation where he's been stabbed to carry a prop gun, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree, I want to give you the following scenario. An individual has a prop gun in their possession. Somebody threatens them. The person who has the prop gun takes out that prop gun. Would you agree, Mr. Levin, that in such a scenario, if the individual they pull the prop gun on, at that point in time, if that person does not know it's a prop gun, that when the individual pulling the prop gun is pulling it out, if the other person has a real gun, the person with the prop gun is going to be in trouble. Would you agree?
Objection, Your Honor. With respect to hypothetical.
Sustain.
If someone's got a prop gun and they run up against somebody with a real gun, and that person with the real gun sees that prop gun being pulled on them, you would agree that in that situation, based on what you know about firearms, that the person with the prop gun is likely going to get shot.
Objection, same one.
I want to give you a scenario, sir. You carry firearms, correct?
That's not correct. I do not carry, I'm not licensed to carry a firearm in public.
You're in your house. You're in your home. You have multiple firearms, correct?
Correct.
Somebody comes in that you don't know, and they have a prop gun. But you don't know it's a prop gun. They just pull a gun on you. Would you agree, sir, that when someone pulls a gun on you, you're going to treat that as if it is a real firearm?
I mean, it kind of, it depends on like this. There's other factors in the scenario that I would need to like know. I can't just really speak on that just like that.
So you're in your house, and someone is coming in, an intruder, and you don't know them, and they have a gun in their hand that looks like a real firearm. And you're saying, I don't know if I would consider it a real firearm. Might be a prop gun. Is that your testimony?
Well, no, I'm saying there's other factors that would be in it. If someone came into my home and was pointing a gun at me, and I believed it to be a real gun, most likely I would comply with what they wanted. Because if I thought it was a real gun, I went to go pull out a gun, in the motion of me trying to pull a gun out, they would possibly gun me down.
And would you agree that if somebody is pulling a gun, and you don't know in advance that it is definitely a prop gun, you're going to assume it's a real gun, correct?
Yes.
Now, your testimony is that the defendant was advised that he should be carrying a prop gun, not to protect himself against individuals who knew that he carried a prop gun, but to protect himself against individuals he did not know, like home invaders, stalkers, violent people, correct?
It was just to fight off any type of violence that could come from, not any specific.
And when you say fight off,
Deter from violence.
meaning pull a fake gun out of your pocket.
Lower the volume.
Pull a fake gun out of your pocket. And that's what you mean by fighting off?
I mean, it was there to deter violence. So if he was in a situation where he was going to be harmed, it could be there something possibly to calm things down and safely get him out of a bad situation.
Would you agree that just as likely would be you pull that prop gun and the person you pull it on pulls a real gun and shoots you?
I can't speak on that. I mean, it's...
Let me ask you this, sir. It's your position that everybody around the defendant knew that he carried a prop gun, correct?
His close friends, yes.
And you have heard testimony that Relli was aware that he carried a prop gun, correct?
I didn't hear any other testimony.
I want you to assume that there's been testimony in this case by the defense that Relli was aware that it was a prop gun that the defendant was carrying. I want you to assume that. Would you agree that if Relli knew that the gun was a prop gun, that it would not offer any deterrent if it were pulled on him because he would know it was fake?
I can't speak to his state of mind in the situation.
Listen to me. I'm not asking you, I'm saying anybody. I want you to assume for a moment, I'll give you, do it in hypothetical terms, all right? I want you to assume that the individual who is pulling the prop gun is pulling it against somebody who knows that it is a prop gun. Would you agree that the only value of the prop gun is if you can scare or intimidate somebody into thinking that it is real?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Objection, Your Honor, it's also the state of mind of another.
That's not even a legal gesture.
Right, speculation.
He said he's a,
I'm reading back the question. Listen to me, I'm not asking you, I'm saying anybody. I want you to assume for a moment, I'll give you, I'll do it in hypothetical terms, all right? I want you to assume that the individual who is pulling the prop gun is pulling it against somebody who knows that it is a prop gun. Would you believe that, would you agree that the only value of the prop gun is if you can scare or intimidate somebody into thinking that it is real?
Speculation.
would you agree, Mr. Levin, that if an individual understands that a fake gun you're pulling is fake and not real, then that gun doesn't have any value for deterrence?
Objection, same objection.
Same way.
So, there's been testimony in this case by the defense that, again, Relli was aware that this was a prop gun. Are you aware that the defense in this case, Mr. Levin, is that the defendant pulled the prop gun on Relli to stop him from attacking Ills? Are you aware that that's the defense?
Yes.
Okay, and my question is, given your knowledge of firearms and given your advice to the defendant about carrying a prop gun, would you agree that if Relli knows it is a prop gun, that the theory that you have raised about why the defendant is carrying a prop gun doesn't work?
Objection, Your Honor, same as before, speculation.
Overruled, as phrased, overruled.
Well, no, so the prop gun, like I said, it makes a loud noise, so that's gonna draw attention and possibly draw police to come. So if he's beating up Ills and nothing is going, and no, like he's not stopping, nothing's like stopping him, that loud noise is gonna draw a lot of attention from all people around, and it's gonna help deter the situation.
Would you agree that if a prop gun is used, that there is no reason for the person pulling the prop gun to aim the gun down or to fire, quote, a warning shot, because in the end, the gun can't fire a shot, period? Would you agree?
Objection, speculation, Your Honor.
You testify, you understand how a prop gun works, correct?
Yes.
Can you fire a warning shot with a prop gun?
Well, I think they're kind of all warning shots. There's no actual shot bullet that comes out, no projectile.
So you would agree that you can't fire a warning shot with a prop gun because you can't fire a shot, period. All you can do is fire off the prop gun and have it make noise. Would you agree?
That's correct. It doesn't fire a projectile.
Would you agree that if you have a real gun with bullets, and you point it at somebody, and you pull the trigger, that there is a likelihood that that person gets shot? Would you agree?
With an actual firearm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you agree that the idea of a warning shot with a real firearm is that you are pointing the gun in a direction and pulling the trigger where no one is going to be hit, so as to warn the individual, hey, I've got this gun, and if you don't stop what you're doing, I'm going to shoot you? Would you agree?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Would you agree, Mr. Levin, that in firing a shot with a prop gun, that there would be no reason to aim the gun towards the ground because the gun can't fire anything?
Objection, speculation.
Where's the speculation?
Sustained.
On speculation?
Yes. You want to argue with me?
I'd like to broach. Your Honor, I'm trying to have, to do a very important area, and I'm not understanding.
What this witness thinks is the efficacy of a prop gun versus a real gun. What his opinion is irrelevant. Go on to another
Just
section.
so clear, I'm doing it for his credibility in front of the jury, which is relevant.
You've already touched on it enough. Go on to something else.
Have you seen the video involving this incident?
I saw the one that was on TMZ when he first got arrested, whenever it was posted,
So how many times have you seen the video?
maybe twice.
You're saying in 3+ years since this incident involving your brother, one of your best friends, a man you work for, that you have only looked at the video of this charged crime a couple of times.
Yes.
In that video, would you agree, I can show it to you, in that video, would you agree that between shots that the defendant is running around with his gun out and appears to be looking for a line of fire to hit the victim?
Objection irrelevant. Sustain.
You've given testimony about the current location of the prop gun and how you went to New York and who you gave it to, is that correct?
That's correct.
That wasn't in the statement that you reviewed with 12 bullet points, was it?
The one that you showed me with the 9 bullet points earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't in there, correct.
And it's your testimony, though, that you told the defense about this back in August of 2024.
Yes.
And the individual that you returned the gun to, are they alive?
They are. I gave you the info earlier. Well, we talked about it earlier. Yeah.
Obviously, they're alive.
That's correct, yes.
Do you know where that gun is today?
Specifically, no. Like I said, when I went to New York, I gave it back to him.
Well, so since you became involved, since you've known about where that gun went, since you gave it back, at some point in time, did you become aware that, you know what, the fact that it's a prop gun is important in this case?
Yes.
And you understand that if it's a prop gun, the defendant cannot be guilty of the charges because it's not a real gun. You understand that, correct?
That's correct. It's a problem.
So what efforts did you make in the last 3 years to try to get that prop gun back so that you could demonstrate, hey, my brother, he didn't do this crime? Did you make any efforts?
Yeah, I asked the co-director if he had it still, and he doesn't.
When did you ask him?
Specifically, I don't remember, sir.
Now, isn't it true, sir, that you testified you returned it in January of 2022?
That's correct, yes.
Did it seem strange to you that you were returning a gun?
A prop gun.
Huh?
A prop gun?
Is a prop gun a gun?
It's a prop gun.
So when I say gun, you don't need to correct me.
Okay.
When you returned the gun, in January of 2022, by that time, you were aware that your friend Rocky was potentially going to be getting in some trouble as it relates to that incident, correct?
No, I was not aware of that.
So, but you certainly knew 3 months later in April, correct?
Yes, when he got arrested, I knew he was...
And you knew that day, as soon as you heard about it, you knew, oh my God, I've got information, that gun's not real, correct? You knew that day.
Yes.
Did you go get the gun?
I was in LA. The gun, like I said, I gave it to the director in New York in January.
Did you make an effort to try to get the gun?
I told you I contacted him to see if he still had it.
When did you contact him?
And again, I don't recall the exact date, sir. This is 3 years ago.
Isn't it true, sir, that you didn't contact him for more than a year?
Sir, to be honest, I don't know the exact date I contacted him.
Well, let me ask you something, sir. Wouldn't you have instantly, the day you heard about the defendant getting arrested, wouldn't you have jumped on a plane to get back there and find that prop gun that would have gotten your brother out of the trouble that he was in? Wouldn't you have done it?
Sir, I contacted the director, I don't know exactly when, to see if he had it, and he doesn't have it anymore.
And so you just did you ask him what he did with it?
Yes.
Did you investigate further once he told you?
No, I didn't. I mean, he doesn't have it anymore. I don't know which one is it.
Did you go to the police and tell them what you knew?
No.
Did you go to the prosecution and tell them what you knew?
No.
You're aware that he had a preliminary hearing in November of 2023. You're aware of that preliminary hearing, correct?
Yes.
You knew it was publicized in the media, correct?
Yes. Yes.
You knew that based at that time, that your brother, your close friend, could not have committed this crime because it wasn't a real gun, and you didn't do anything, did you?
I knew it was a prop gun.
Does you yourself, knowing it's a prop gun, does that help your brother with his legal problem if you don't tell anybody?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
You said you knew it was a prop gun.
Yes.
My question is, you understand the police, the prosecution, and the court needs to understand it's a prop gun in order for you to help him, right?
Yeah, nobody contacted me from the police or the courts. Nobody contacted me until like 2 weeks ago about the police or the
Wait,
courts.
wouldn't you, sir, have had every incentive, every motive, every desire to contact the police and the prosecution to tell them, hey, my buddy, my close friend, my brother Rocky is innocent. That was a fake gun. Wouldn't you have had every motivation to do that?
I knew that this was going to court, and I knew I would have my time to speak about it here to the jury.
Well, so you decided you would wait, have your brother held to answer, have him brought to trial in front of 12 jurors, rather than simply going to the police and prosecutors and telling them, hey, listen, that was a fake gun. Is that your testimony?
Like I said, I knew that this case was going to trial, and I would have my opportunity to speak here in front of the jury and explain it.
I want to ask you again.
Okay.
Did you understand that by not coming forward, that you were putting your brother, your best friend, in more legal jeopardy? Did you understand that?
No, I didn't. I didn't understand that. I didn't. No.
So, you were present on April 20th, 2022, when a search warrant was served at Mr. Mayer's residence, correct?
I wasn't present when it was served, but I was there during the search, yes.
You were there when they were doing the search, correct?
Correct, yes.
The police, correct?
Yes,
The police, the detectives handling this case, correct?
correct.
That man seated right in the back. Can you stand up for me, detective? You saw him at the defendant's house, correct?
That's correct.
On point of the IO in this case? Did you walk up to him and say to him, detective, it was a prop gun. That's not right. He didn't do anything. Did you tell the detective that?
At that time, I didn't know any details of the case. I just got a phone call saying that there was a search warrant being done at his house, and I should go over there to just be there. I wasn't aware of any of the details of the case. This was early in the morning. I was just getting out of bed. I didn't know that he was being charged for. I didn't know what he was being charged for.
Didn't you already testify, sir, that you had talked to Rocky the day after the incident happened and you knew that he had used a prop gun?
Correct.
So you're telling me that when the detectives are showing up, serving a search warrant, that you had no idea what it was related to?
I didn't know that this was going to be. It was going to a criminal case until that day.
So when it was that day and the detective is there, you wouldn't have had to call him, you wouldn't have had to go down there. He's right there, and you could have told him it was a prop gun. You could have done that, correct?
I didn't know the details of everything that was going on at that time, sir. I didn't know what was.
Listen to my question. Could you have told the detective on that day it was a prop gun, it wasn't real? Could you have done that?
When I was speaking to the detective,
Yes.
I could have told him, but I didn't have any details of what was going on, sir. It wasn't, at that time, I
Most
didn't know.
strike, everything after yes. Did you tell him it was a prop gun?
Did I tell him it was a prop gun on that day?
Yes.
No.
Now, you were also aware, on that day, you were aware that they collected evidence, correct? You were there supporting your friend, is that right?
I was aware they collected evidence.
By the way, you said you got called when they were serving the search warrant. Who called you?
It was somebody that was on the plane with him. I can't remember exactly who it was that day.
Well, so,
It was like 7 in the morning. I was just waking up to just, hey, you have to go over to Rocky's house. They're going to search the house. And I just jumped in my car and I didn't ask questions. I just went.
why would you have to go over to Rocky's house when you're serving a search warrant at Rocky's for something that doesn't involve you?
Well, I've worked with him for a long time, and I actually sometimes manage his properties, so I'm able to get access to the house. I have keys, so I could have opened the door instead of them busting the gate open and running the door down. I mean, and if they needed anything in there, I was just there. We have nothing to hide, so I was there if they needed anything. Even at one point, they needed to get into a safe, and I'm so sorry.
What's that?
I'm so sorry.
Okay, slow it down.
I'll slow it down. I
Slow
apologize.
it down.
So, you go over to the house, and you are there when they are collecting guns, correct?
I was outside the whole time, so I didn't see exactly what they were collecting.
You became aware on that day or shortly thereafter that detectives did not find a prop gun, correct?
Well, yeah, there was no prop gun in the house
So how did you know there was no prop gun in the house?
because on January of that year, I brought it back to New York for the guy to testify.
How did you know there was no other prop gun in the house?
They could have been in the prop gun in the house. I didn't know, but I know that that prop gun was back in New York.
Okay, so you also know that the detectives recovered that Glock 43 9mm magazine, correct?
Yes, I know now they did, correct.
And it's your testimony that that was actually your magazine, am I correct?
That's correct.
And it's your testimony that even though you do not own a Glock 43, that you bought a 380, correct?
I bought a Glock 42, yes.
Which is a 380,
380 caliber,
correct?
that's correct.
380 cannot fire 9mm rounds, correct?
That's correct.
And your testimony is that when you bought it, you somehow inadvertently got the wrong magazine. Is that right?
I mistakenly bought the wrong magazine.
And you
Correct.
didn't realize it was the wrong magazine until literally the day you went over to Rocky's house to end up in preparation for going to the shooting range, correct?
That's correct.
And because you did not know that it was anything other than a 380, right, a Glock 42 magazine that fired 380 caliber ammunition, correct? You didn't find that out until you go to the house and you're like, oh my God, this is the wrong gun, is that right?
Yes.
Did you actually try to put it inside of your Glock 42 to 380?
No, what I was trying to do is I was trying to load it, and I noticed when I put the 380 ammunition in, it was a little too small and it wasn't fitting correctly.
So, Mr. Levin, if you were only using 380 ammunition, and if you're trying to put 380 ammunition, how is it that that magazine was full of 9mm ammunition?
I also own a Smith & Wesson M&P 9, which is 9mm. I brought both of my handguns that day, so I was loading up my Smith & Wesson magazines with 9mm, and I'm so sorry, I'm going too fast. I was loading up my Smith & Wesson magazines with 9mm, and my Glock 42 magazines with 380. So I had both ammunitions on that day.
Now, you're well aware that a Glock magazine looks nothing like a Smith & Wesson magazine, correct?
Yeah, correct.
They look nothing alike, correct?
That's correct.
So my question is, how is it that that Glock magazine, which you thought was to hold 380 ammunition, ended up being loaded with 9mm ammunition? How did that happen?
When I realized the 380 didn't fit, I tried the 9mm in there, and it fit, and then I further inspected it and realized it was a 43 magazine.
So, by the way, so you're telling me you then needed to figure out what kind of magazine it was. And so you decided to put a 9mm round inside the magazine, correct?
Yes.
So, sir, as soon as you put one 9mm round in the magazine, you know it's not for a .380. Why is it fully loaded with approximately 6 rounds of ammunition? A full Glock 43 magazine, full of 9mm ammo.
Because after we realized we weren't going to the gun range, and I packed everything up, I was just fidgeting with it. At that time, I had just first got guns, and sometimes I would sit there and I would load it and unload magazines just fidgeting around.
So, you loaded a magazine for a gun you didn't have with ammunition you didn't know went into it. And then when it fit, you fully loaded it all the way. Is that your testimony?
Yes,
Because you were, quote, fidgeting. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Does that sound reasonable to you?
Objection, argument. Mr. Stan.
Isn't it true, sir, that this information about the Glock 43 magazine is what is called a lie? That it never happened, that you never took over a Glock 43 magazine there, that you never tried to load it with .380 ammunition, and then in fact,
Compound. It's really compound.
wait, the objection was,
Well, he's in the middle of arguing that it's argumentative. There are a number of questions that you're asking. So you're asking question after question after question. So why don't you limit it to one question at a time?
I'm trying to, in totally wrong, because I believe it would go to impeachment of the witness, but I'll take it one at a time, and I'll do the total. So, your testimony. I want to be clear. Let me back up for a second. When you bought a Glock before, you bought a Glock 42, correct?
That's correct.
You agree that when you buy a new Glock, it almost always comes with 2 magazines, correct?
I didn't buy it new, I bought it used. I bought it secondhand from somebody.
You ever bought a new weapon?
Brand new, no. All of my firearms were bought like through secondhand.
When you buy them secondhand, sir, wouldn't you agree? I assume when you bought your .380 secondhand, it came with 2 magazines, correct?
I don't believe so, it just came with one.
You said you know a lot about firearms, correct?
Yeah, I'm knowledgeable.
Is it your testimony that in your experience, that when you buy a new firearm, that generally speaking, that firearm only comes with 1 magazine?
Objection irrelevant. Sustain.
Sir, isn't it true that the reason that that 9mm magazine was at the defendant's house was because he had a 9mm firearm, a Glock 43, that he used in this shooting of Relli, and that was simply the second magazine that he forgot to get rid of? Isn't that what happened, sir?
No.
As a firearms owner in California, you would agree that it is very difficult, and it has been difficult, to get ammunition in California since 2019. Would you agree?
Yeah, in 2020, I know it was a shortage and prices were going up, but it was difficult at some points, correct?
Not only a shortage, but you would agree that you have to actually, that at the time of this offense in 2021, you would agree you needed approval from the Department of Justice, as well as a California driver's license or a California ID and a local address to purchase ammunition in California, correct?
I don't know about approval, but whenever I bought ammunition, all I had to do was show my driver's license. So that was a California driver's license with an address, yes.
So would you agree that if you don't have, in your experience, if you don't have a California driver's license or a California address, you're just going in to a gun shop to try to get ammunition, that in your experience, you can't do it in California?
I believe so, yeah, that's what I understand, or
Yeah.
at least that, yes.
Do you know a place to buy ammunition near Hollywood on a Saturday evening after 10 p.m.?
No, I don't know any places.
Who is ASAP Bills?
ASAP Ills is a member of the ASAP group collective.
When's the last time you saw him?
Last year at some point, I want to say maybe November, September. I can't remember the exact date.
When's the last time you had any contact with him? person, text, you tried to reach him? When's the last time?
Probably around the time I saw him.
Did he travel with you guys on tour to Bangkok?
No, he did not.
You guys were all friends at the time of the incident in November 2021. You, the defendant, 12, and Hills, right?
Yes, correct.
And you would say close friends, correct?
Yeah.
You went to Complex Con on November 7th, correct?
Yes, I did.
And did you notice any injuries on Hills?
Not that I can see.
What do you think? You know Relli, correct?
Yes.
Would you describe Relli in terms of his physical strength as, kind of a weakling, medium, or pretty strong dude?
No, I would say him pretty strong.
And I want you to assume that he had punched somebody with a fist in their face area 3 times. Knowing Relli as you do, would you expect that an individual will receive injuries from that, since you know Relli?
Not necessarily. I can't say that. I've seen boxers before get punched in the face multiple times and look fine. Like, I guess it just depends on the person.
You didn't see ills with any injuries, though, the night of November 7th, did you?
I wasn't studying his face, but I didn't see any visible injuries. Injuries.
If he would have been bleeding, do you think you would have seen that?
Bleeding that day. Or bleeding that day.
Bleeding.
Objection.
Yes. If he would have been bleeding on November 7th,
He's going to clarify it.
if he was bleeding on November 7th, do you think you would have seen it?
Not necessarily.
You were with Ills, the defendant, and 12E on November 7th, correct?
Correct.
You spoke to the defendant on November 6th after the incident, correct?
I don't know if it was after the incident or the next day, but it was shortly after, yeah, around that time.
When you spoke to him, did he tell you that Relli beat the hell out of Ills?
I don't know if he used those exact words, but they got into an altercation, yes.
What did he tell you specifically about the altercation with Ills?
This is 4 years ago. I can't remember specific word for word, but I was told that he was beating up Hills.
Did you reveal that in any statement you gave?
I wasn't there that night, so I wasn't really asked about what happened that night.
So you're telling me the defense didn't ask you, what did Rocky tell you about what happened that night? They never asked you that?
To be honest, in August, they didn't ask me that. Like I said, I wasn't there that night, so it's really not, I can't really accurately speak on what happened.
As you sit here right now, I want you to tell me, as best you can, everything that the defendant has ever told you about this incident. I'm not asking you when, I'll get to that, but I want to know everything that he has told you about this incident.
He mentioned after the rehearsal, on the 6th in Long Beach, he went to go meet up with Rel. They got into an altercation. Well, he got into an altercation with Ills. Rel was being the aggressor, and he had to use the prop gun to kind of stop it, to calm it down.
Did he tell you that he was upset with Relli beforehand and was trying to meet up with him?
No.
Did you become aware at any point in time that he had been texting Relli, meaning the defendant, trying to meet up with him?
No.
Did you become aware that he had brought his prop gun, allegedly, to this meeting with Relli?
Well, yeah.
Did he ever tell you, you ever ask him, hey, why are you bringing a prop gun with you when you're meeting with another ASAP?
I don't think he brought it just
Motion to strike is non-responsive.
Stop yelling.
I'm sorry, Your
Stop your yelling.
Honor? Motion to
You
strike.
can just make the motion and state the reason. You don't have to yell. Now, what was the objection?
It's non-responsive. He's given an answer I didn't ask for. Listen to my question.
Yes.
I didn't ask you why the defendant told you something. I asked you what he told you. So on my questions going forward, I'm not going to ask you why the defendant told you something, because you wouldn't know. I'm asking you, what did he tell you? So I want to know, what did he specifically tell you about why he brought a prop gun to meet with his friend Relli?
He he didn't specifically say he brought it to meet with Relli. Whenever he would leave the house without security, he would bring it with him.
And you're aware of that because you had counseled him to do that, is that correct?
I didn't counsel him to do that. It was just something that he did. It was common knowledge.
I thought you told me that you and the security guy sat down with him and said, hey,
Yeah, we
listen.
thought it would be a good idea, yes. So I don't know if that's counseling him to do it. I mean, maybe I just misunderstanding the word, but yes, me and security at the time, we had thought it was a good idea for him to carry it, and that's what, to my knowledge, that's why he was carrying it. When he would leave the house and he didn't have the security with him, he would carry that.
And so you said, that's what he's told you. What else has he said? About the incident?
I told you everything that he told me.
So, in the 3+ years that this has happened, the only thing that he has told you is what you just related?
Yes.
You never asked any other details?
No, I didn't ask any other details.
Do you ever call Relli and ask him what happened?
I don't have at that time, me and Relli weren't really on speaking terms.
Did you ever ask Twelby what happened?
No,
You ever ask Ills what happened?
no.
So you're telling me that 4 guys that you at one point were very close to, including Rocky, who you worked for and was responsible for a lot of your incoming success, get into an altercation where at the very least a prop gun is pulled, and you're telling me you never asked 2 of the participants, Ills and Twelby, anything about it ever? Is that your testimony?
I honestly, yes, I never asked them about it. When the defendant told me,
Motion to strike everything after the yes.
sorry.
Is it your testimony that you were unable to get the gun back from the individual in New York, or is it your testimony that you never tried?
I was unable to get it.
What efforts did you make to try to get the gun back from the individual in New York?
I asked him if he still had it.
And when he told you that he didn't, did you make any further effort to track down where it was?
I don't know what other further effort I could have made.
But did you ask him, what did he do with it?
I asked him where it was, and he said it's gone.
Did he give you a name of who he gave it to?
He didn't. He doesn't know where it went. To my understanding, is he has a studio right in New York that him and his other creatives they all use. It's like a studio where they keep camera equipment, they keep lighting equipment, they keep prop equipment. It's kind of like a common space, so someone can come in and borrow a camera, borrow a prop for different shoots, and it got misplaced, it got stolen. He said stuff gets missing all the time.
You are aware, sir, that this morning we were finally given the name of the individual that you are saying that you gave the gun to in New York, correct?
Correct.
Objection to relevant charge.
The court has made a ruling on this previously, Your Honor.
Objection over.
Are you aware that we called that individual this morning and spoke to him?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that that individual, if asked, what happened to the gun, his response would have been, I have no idea.
Objection, Your Honor. It's irrelevant. Actually, it's
I can play it, Your Honor,
sustained.
if you like. The court made certain rulings.
The objection is sustained. Do you recall the other day I talked about speaking objections, arguing?
I do.
Remember that? Do you remember that?
I do.
All right, I'm keeping track of every speaking objection that is made, every argument with the witness, argument with me. I'm keeping track of all that. He made an objection. I sustained it. Go on, to the next question.
Have you asked this individual directly for the name of the person that he gave the gun to?
Like I said, I don't know what happened to the gun after the prop
The
gun.
motion to strike is non-responsive.
He's already answered the question. He doesn't know.
No, that's not what I asked, Your Honor. Did
Read it back.
Have you asked this individual directly for the name of the person that he gave the
Oh,
gun
all right,
to.
no, that's fair.
Objection, Your Honor, this states the testimony, he didn't say he gave.
Over. Have you asked him for the name of the person that he gave it to?
Wait, that is not what he has testified to.
Your Honor, he testified.
He said he didn't give it to, he gave it to the person who he got it from.
And I've asked him if he asked the person that he gave it to.
Oh, I see, okay, all right, I got the question, all right.
Have you asked the person that you gave it to the name of the person that he gave the gun to?
I don't. I asked him if he still had it, and he said no. I didn't ask him. He didn't. When I spoke to him about it, he didn't know where it went. So I don't. I know I didn't ask him who he gave it to because I wasn't aware he gave it to anybody.
But, so when he said no, you didn't ask any further question or make any further effort to find out where the gun was. Is that
I
correct?
asked him if we could get it back, and he said no, it was gone.
Did you ask him any further question? Yes or no?
No.
I want to go to my last area here. I want to talk about prop gun. You're aware that when a prop gun is fired, semi-automatic prop gun, that although nothing comes out of the barrel, that it has a prop load, correct?
Can you? What is a problem? Can you?
So when you load a prop gun, a semi-automatic prop gun, you're putting prop rounds in a magazine.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
And the gun that you're talking about that you gave the defendant was a Glock semi-automatic prop gun, correct?
Correct.
And the way that gun works is the gun is fired. When it is fired, a cartridge ejects out of the side and the next round cycles. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Did you actually load the prop gun?
Yes.
What kind of ammunition did you use to load the prop gun?
It was the blank ammunition that came with it. I don't remember exactly what brand it was.
But you would agree it's a 9mm prop ammo, so it's a round, but instead of being, let me use what we got here. May I approach, Your Honor?
You don't have to ask.
This is a 9mm hollow point, correct?
Yes. Correct.
You know what a hollow point is, right?
Yes.
Hollow point at the tip, it's not fully jacketed. It doesn't come to a complete surface. It's got a hole in it. Is that correct?
Yeah. The point is hollow. Yes. Correct.
And when this round is fired, the casing, which is in the back, ejects out the side and the bullet goes forward, right?
In a live gun. Yes.
Yes. And the difference between this round, which is a real 9mm round, and what you loaded, is that instead of having a bullet, a projectile at the tip that fires, it actually has what is in essence a paper bullet, and it doesn't go anywhere, and nothing comes out of the barrel. Is that correct?
It's like crimped at the end, so it can't actually fire anything. Yeah.
But it makes the sound, correct?
It does.
And it ends up putting out a muzzle flash, correct?
Yeah.
And it ejects the expended casing out of the side, correct?
That's correct.
So when you fire it, no bullet comes out, cartridge gets ejected, the gun automatically, semi-automatic, cycles the next round into the chamber, and you repeat for as many live rounds as you have. Is that correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. That's my understanding of how a prop gun works. Correct.
One moment, Your Honor. Did you only communicate with the defendant by his cell phone number? I'm not going to give it, but you know the cell phone number that's been involved in this case, correct?
Yeah, it's on there.
I'm not gonna name his cell phone number, is that the only number that you communicated with?
With the defendant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever communicate with him on other apps, such as Signal or WhatsApp or WeChat?
With the defendant?
Yes.
No, the only other thing I might have communicated with him is through like, you know, how you could iMessage, you could like send iMessages with your email sometimes. I might have used his email to message him before, but never Signal or WhatsApp or WeChat.
Let me approach. This is People's 21. Is this the iMessage that you're talking about addressed to
Yep,
Luigi?
yeah, that's the one, yeah.
And when we say Luigi, that's another name for the defendant, is that right?
No one calls him Luigi, it's just an email address he made.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor. How long before the search warrant was executed at the house in April of 2022 at the defendant's house was it that you had brought over your guns and where you had left the Glock 43 magazine?
That was in, like I said, we went to the shooting range, well, we were gonna go to the shooting range in summer of 2021. So July, August, I don't remember the exact date, but it was in that vicinity.
And you brought a number of guns there, is that right?
That day, I brought my 2 handguns.
And which handguns did you bring?
Smith & Wesson M&P 9, which is a 9mm, and Glock 42, which is a 380.
Okay. Do you know how it was that you ended up only leaving a Glock 43 magazine that didn't fit any of those guns there? How you managed to leave it there?
Well, because when we realized we couldn't go to the shooting range, I packed up my bag and I left the Glock 43 magazine out. While we were drinking and just hanging out, that's when I was fidgeting around with it. The next day when I went to go pick up my stuff, I just grabbed the bag and I didn't grab the magazine because it was separate from my bag.
So it's your testimony that you have to be just fidgeting with this magazine that you had that didn't fit any gun that you had with you that you thought was a different magazine. Is that your testimony?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I'm nothing further.
Siegel, thank you.
So listen, you were asked if you found out that immediately after the incident, Relli demanded money from Rocky. If you were, let me withdraw that. You were asked if you found out immediately after the incident that Relli demanded money from Rocky. If you were coming in here just to keep, to help Rocky instead of telling the truth, would you have just come in here and said, yes, Rocky, let me withdraw that. Let me ask it this way. Mr. Levin asked you if Rocky told you immediately after the incident that he was being extorted by Relli, and you said, no, you didn't know immediately after. If you were coming in here just to help Rocky, wouldn't you have said, yeah, he told me immediately after?
Leading and speculation both.
He gets to finish the question.
Even if it's leading?
He gets to finish the question. Finish the question.
Thank you. If you were coming in here just to help Rocky, would you have answered his question that yes, Rocky told you immediately after the incident that Relli was trying to extort him?
Leading and speculation, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, you were asked about why you didn't come forward and tell the prosecutors and the detectives that it was a prop gun. Are you aware that Rocky told his lawyers from the outset that it was a prop
Objection,
gun?
that's going to call for
And his lawyers
speculation.
were
Andrew,
dealing
it's
with
an
the
improper
prosecution?
question.
Stop. It is. It calls for hearsay, and it's irrelevant. The objection sustained. Ask another question.
Do you know what conversations Rocky's had with his lawyers? about
Objection,
prop gun?
relevance, also it's going to call for hearsay.
Okay.
Motion to direct the counsel not to ask any questions in this line.
You feel a question is objectionable, lodge an objection. I'm not going to tell any lawyer how to ask questions.
want to show you People's 41 in evidence. What is that?
That is the Glock 43 magazine that I left at his house that day.
Do you see any scratches on that at all?
Can I touch it?
Any tear? Yeah, please.
No, it looks brand new.
Has it ever been used?
That's gonna call for speculation.
Sustain.
How's it look to you?
It looks unused and brand new.
Now, you were asked about the ASAP ills on cross-examination. Do you know the condition of ills today?
From my knowledge, it's unreal.
Jackson, that's gonna call for speculation and hearsay.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking too
Over.
fast.
Run it back to foundation.
Now, you were asked about what Rocky told you about the incident repeatedly. Did Rocky tell you about it immediately after it happened?
Yes.
And was this an everyday topic of discussion in your life?
The incident?
Yeah.
No.
And do you know whether Rocky was told by his lawyers after his arrest
Objection.
not to discuss the
Objection.
incident?
Sustain.
Your Honor, can the jury be instructed to ignore that question has been asked 3
Questions
times?
are not evidence. All right. Mr. Siegel, I don't want you to ask any more questions about conversations that you or Mr. Tacopina had with your client.
Okay,
No
fair
more
enough.
questions about that.
I have no more questions about anything else. Finished. Thank you
All right.
very much.
Anything?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good, thanks.
Mr. Lewin? Wait, whoa, whoa,
Oh,
whoa.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Hold
So
on.
sorry, so sorry.
You have anything?
No, I do not. Subject to
Sorry.
recall.
All right, you can leave for now, but if you're notified to return, you must do so.
Understood.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Next witness. How much time? We still have it at 55 minutes. You tell me how much time.
We'll just issue that.
Oh, no, I understand. All right. All right, we'll recess till 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Your Honor, may we approach?
I'll listen to what you have to say after the jury's gone.
Well, we need to approach before the jury's released, Your Honor. This has to do with delaying. This
All
has
right,
to do with
come on up, let me hear what you got to say.